I picked up 50 films and 1 TV series. That's either a lot or a little, depending on who you ask. Hey everyone, David Fish here for Fish to Go, and I want to give a shout out to all of my new subscribers out there, and to any of you new subscribers. I've got another video for you today that showcases all the physical media that I love but my wallet hates. Yep, it's been one of those wild years where the world seems to be crumbling all around us, and we, by which I mean I, resort to the comfort of retail therapy and just diving into a good movie. Or really just any movie to pass the time. And part of this wild year has been my dive into movies by some of the best and most revered filmmakers, which is why I've been boosting my collection with some of the Criterion released Blu-rays and taking advantage of their 50% off sales. Now I also have the Criterion channel, which has just a stupid, incredible wealth of movies and supplements. But like my vinyl collecting addiction, there's just something about having that physical piece of media, and Criterion really goes out of their way with each release with unique and special artwork, special features that you really can't find elsewhere, and a restoration of each film. Alright, enough of me waxing poetic. I'm sure you're antsy to see what I've got. So here is what I picked up from the Criterion Collection at my recent haul. And if you guys like this video, be sure to hit that like button, subscribe, and ding that bell so that way you are notified as soon as new content drops. Oh, and one more thing before I forget, I am a filmmaker myself, primarily an editor and producer, and my most recent project is finally going to see release in December. See, 2020 can't end so badly, right? The film is called Suffer for Good. It's a documentary film about Seb Zaude, an Ethiopian boxer who was supposed to be in the 1984 Olympic Games in Los Angeles, and he was touted as the next Muhammad Ali. But his dreams were dashed because the Soviet Union boycotted that year, and Ethiopia sorta had a friendly relationship with the Soviet Union at the time. Now in his 50s, Seb still has the fire inside to have one more fight and prove to everybody that he can still fight despite major setbacks. Now that's just the gist of the story, that in a year that saw immigration struggles and political flare-ups, and in a year where the Olympics were supposed to happen and didn't for many Olympians who now have to either delay or potentially cancel the Olympics for themselves. This cannot be more timely. Suffer for Good comes out December 8th from Gravitas Ventures, and you can view the trailer and pre-order the film on iTunes at the link in the description box down below. Okay, I promise, now we can get into those Criterion releases, which maybe my film will be on there one day. I hope. One can dream. So I took part in 2 sales that happened recently. Criterion held its own 50% off sale on its own website, and then Barnes & Noble holds their biannual sale in July and November, so I took part in that as well. And while I actually did pick up 50 films and 1 TV series, it actually only amounts to 11 complete Criterion releases. And that's because 3 of these releases are box sets, and one of the box sets contains 39 of those films, so it's a gigantic one. I think I'm gonna hold on to that for last. And while I certainly would have loved to have picked up more releases, the Dodgers just had to break their 32-year losing streak and win this year and take all of my money as I cried happy tears.
Yes! Wow! Yes! Oh my God! Yes!
I tried to stick to releases of films I've either already seen but hadn't previously picked up, or I'm trying to build on filmographies from filmmakers I love or who I'm trying to study further. So let's start with the individual releases first, I guess, not the box sets. This first one is Broadcast News by James L. Brooks, 1987. Spine number 552 for the Criterion Collection. And I actually reviewed this film on my channel for my 100 Days 100 Movies Challenge, and you can click on the button in the corner to check that out. I don't know whichever corner it is. That one or that one, YouTube. For anybody that hasn't seen this before, this is a pure dramedy writer's dream. It's James L. Brooks at his finest. He comments on the 80s era of news consumption, which is still fairly prescient today. And it features a love triangle that has characters whose traits are very distinct and tug and pull at what it means to have a very stable relationship. It's a dynamic that works flawlessly between Albert Brooks, Holly Hunter, and William Hurt, and it has this oddly tragic but uplifting sweep that James L. Brooks is best known for films like Terms of Endearment or As Good as It Gets, that even though the news changes, people really don't. Criterion's disc looks fantastic, and it has some special features which I have yet to see, but I'm ready for it, especially now that the news cycle has maybe finally slowed down, please. The next film I picked up was Brazil by Terry Gilliam, Spine number 51. It's a film that I had always heard about and had always seen the cover and was intrigued by, but it's just one of those films that I never got the chance to sit down and watch. Also, Terry Gilliam is kind of a hit and miss director with me. sometimes producing wildly visually ambitious projects, but they're more style over substance, and other movies that have plots that have a lot of promise but ultimately go nowhere. Well, safe to say that my picking this up means I love the film, and yes indeed I did. I actually saw this not too long ago on the Criterion channel and saw it was ending, or it was going away from the channel, so I decided to hop on and watch it, and I knew within 10 minutes I was going to love this movie. It is far and away his best film, I think, because he seems to fully realize those wild tendencies with a plot that honors it. The special effects alone are amazing for 1985. I still am trying to wrap my head around how he was able to pull off some of these special effects. And in a sort of a Barry Sonnenfeld kind of way, with kooky characters and a lot of different shot styles that dig deeper at the film's themes, it's just a really fascinating film to watch. Seeing Jonathan Pryce in the lead role is always a good time. The soundtrack is epic, and that ending is a dagger to the heart. Yeah, I need to revisit this film again and again and again. I'm happy to see Criterion release this on 2 discs, one that features an entire version of the film that's meant to be a happier version called Love Conquers All, along with documentaries and shorts from behind the scenes, so yeah, I'm excited to pop this one in. Next I have a trio of films, but this is not a box set. This is me just trying to round out my collection of the films from these 2 filmmakers, the first being David Lynch, and the films are Eraserhead, which is spine number 725. Then we've got The Elephant Man, which is spine number 1051. And then we have Twin Peaks Fire Walk With Me, which is spine number 898. Maybe it's just me, but it's kind of interesting that I just happened to pick 3 different David Lynch films from 3 different decades. Now, of these 3 films, I've only seen The Elephant Man and Eraserhead, and as far as Eraserhead is concerned, for David Lynch's first film, it is perhaps his most Lynchian. It's a film that just washes over me, something like Mulholland Drive or Blue Velvet, something that I don't try to fully or necessarily understand logically, but something I try to learn how to feel. It's a melding of the consciousness and the dream world, both which coexist at the same time, something that is done so spectacularly well with such simple physical makeup and some really effective editing and a soundtrack that just does not let up. And for The Elephant Man, while it's probably David Lynch at his most accessible or straightforward, if you will, it's still an impeccable work of artistry with some beautiful black and white cinematography, some great acting from Anthony Hopkins and John Hurt, and a masterclass of how to do right by an adaptation. I'll have to check out Twin Peaks Fire Walk With Me. This is something I haven't seen before. I've only seen the first 2 seasons of Twin Peaks, the first one which I think is way better. I have not seen The Return yet, and I've only heard good and bad things about this film, so I'm too big of a Lynch fan to not see this and check this out, so I will take the time to do that now that it's in my collection. I love the Criterion releases of Lynch's films as well, as they are each designed in digipacks, which have a nice outer shell that houses the main package, opening up to a full-on book with essays and behind-the-scenes info. I'm also looking forward to seeing what special features are included, so yeah, that's David Lynch for you. The next set of 3 films I have is, again, not a box set, but just me rounding out my collection of, this time, Stanley Kubrick. We have here 1956's The Killing, which is spine number 575. And then we have 1957's Paths of Glory, which is spine number 538. And then we have 1975's Barry Lyndon, spine number 897. I actually haven't seen any of these movies, which I'm kind of ashamed of myself for if I'm going to be calling myself a forever film student. I've always known about Barry Lyndon particularly because it was basically around his string of great films like A Clockwork Orange, Lolita, and The Shining. But clocking in at 3 hours and it is a period piece, I always felt I needed to sit down and take the time to watch it. But now that there's a pandemic going around and still going around for the foreseeable future, I think now's the proper time. I'm aware of his approach to constructing images in a painterly fashion and having cinematography that's all candlelit, as if to evoke the imagery that would be of the era. So I am excited to check this out, and I now have the time to sit down to watch it. To be fair, I don't know too much about these 2 films. I know Paths of Glory has Kirk Douglas, who also starred in Spartacus, but as the first 2 films in Stanley Kubrick's filmography, I'm curious to see where it all started. So thanks Kubrick and Criterion for putting these out in the world. That's it for standalone releases. So the rest are box sets. I have 3 of them here. Let's start with this one. This is one that is from filmmaker Richard Linklater, who is probably best known for School of Rock. Just kidding. But maybe not for some people. School of Rock is great, by the way. Not a dig at all. Not a dig. But Linklater has a thing for time, as seen in the movie Boyhood, which took him 12 years to make. These films were filmed 9 years separately from each other, and they all cohesively come together in this trilogy called the Before Trilogy. And why is it called the Before Trilogy? Is because each film starts with the word before. Now this box set houses the 3 films. This is 1995's Before Sunrise, which is spine number 857. And then we have Before Sunset, which is spine number 858. And finally ending with Before Midnight from 2013. Yes, 2013, spine number 859. I reviewed Before Sunrise and Before Sunset for my 100 Days 100 Movies challenge, and you can click again on one of those corners, I don't know, but that button will get you to that video. That was in 2011, so that was before Midnight. But I have seen all three films, and they are just fantastic movies. They are basically love letters to love itself. Ethan Hawke and Julie Delpy deliver some of the most tenderest performances I think I've ever seen in film, with a narrative that consists mostly of them just talking about relationships to each other, like one takes that unfurl with every sentence that comes off of their lips. It's really in the screenplays by the trio that make these films feel so authentic and great, but it's also set in these locales that make it a visually pleasing time as well. So in 2022, I'm really hoping that another Before film comes out 9 years after Before Midnight. The box set from Criterion itself is also really nice. It has this sort of peachy skin feeling. It's like a really nice texture. I don't know, it's hard to say on camera. But it feels really soft to the touch. And the artwork for each release are these pastel watercolors that are just impressive. I'm interested to see what the special features on this are as well, so I will be checking these films out soon, probably in one go. The next box set is actually a TV series, one of few that is in the Criterion Collection. This is spine number 837, and it's by Polish filmmaker Krzysztof Kieslowski. This is from 1988, yeah, the 10-episode series called Dekalog, or The Dekalog. Now, Kieslowski is a filmmaker whom I'm not too familiar with, unfortunately, but I have seen the Three Colors trilogy, Blue, White, and Red, which are not just great films, but they are really highly ambitious and symbolic films. Each film is inspired by one respective color of the French flag, and in 1988's Dekalog, the filmmaker takes a similar approach in which each episode is inspired by one of the 10 Commandments, and this all takes place around an apartment complex. Each episode is directed by Kieslowski, but it's lensed by a different cinematographer, so while it's not visually consistent, it is kind of fascinating to see where he decides to bend the visual look of each episode. I've only seen the first 2 episodes, which I saw way back in film school, so almost a decade ago, so I'm really excited to dive back into this and really catch up on what I've been missing. The box set is also that peachy soft texture, and the discs are housed in this digipack set that looks just great. Now, last but not least, is this behemoth of a box set. I think it's the biggest box set I've ever owned. It is a set of 39 films from filmmaker Ingmar Bergman, and so it is aptly named. Let me see if I can even get it in the frame. Let me see. Here we go. Look how big it is. It's bigger than my head. It is aptly titled Ingmar Bergman's Cinema. Now again, I admit, of the 39 films, I've only seen 2. So please leave your hate, shame-filled comments in the comments down below. Bergman is a filmmaker whom I've always been trying to get into since I got into film school. But you know, for most of the 2010s, I spent most of the time just trying to figure out how to make it in the business, and so I sort of went the other way. I watched a lot of films, but I also sort of lost the spirit of what I was watching in film school, and I didn't really get the chance to see most of the films. But here is this box set that I'm looking to totally dive into and try to revisit the films I did see, which is The Seventh Seal and Fanny and Alexander. What I love about this box set, and what I really love about Criterion in general, is just the TLC, the tender loving care that they give each release, but particularly this release. It's got, look at this book. This is just a book that's included. It's got lots of essays and commentaries about each particular film, and what's also really fascinating about this box set particularly is they could have gone and released each film and sort of made each film released chronologically, but no, this is actually a curated set that comes in this really handy book separate from the other book that houses all the discs like so. It's curated in a way that it's like the Bergman Film Festival, so to speak. So you start with an opening night, then you have some different sections, and then a closing night. Though I probably won't be making it a habit of going 3 or 4 films at a day like some film festivals do, or some film festivals I've been to, I can already tell this is something I'm going to be cherishing for years and years and years. In addition, I love the fact that a lot of these films have been restored, so I think they're going to look amazing. I've been fascinated and always curious to see films like Wild Strawberries and Cries and Whispers and Persona. These are movies that, you know, some students in my class were always talking about, and I was like, okay, and then never really explored. So again, Really excited to check this out, and I'm really happy to have picked it up during the sale, particularly during the sale. So that's it. That's all of the Criterion releases I picked up during this sale and added to my growing collection. And yeah, it did hurt the wallet a little bit, but I think these are worth it for all of these gems. And I will be hopefully picking up some more releases in the months to come, particularly the Fellini set that I know I really would like to get, and the upcoming Wong Kar-wai set, which they've been touting to have released, but we haven't heard an announcement yet, so hopes that we get that released very soon. If you've seen any of the films I mentioned today, or just want to share a movie recommendation that you would like to see me review, be sure to leave all of that in the comments down below. Again, if you enjoyed this video, I would really appreciate a huge thumbs up, a subscribe, and ding that bell so that way you can help support the channel and be notified as soon as new content drops. And before you head out, be sure to check out the description box to view the trailer and pre-order my film, Suffer for Good, which will be available from Gravitas Ventures on December 8th digitally. Thanks again, and until next time, I'm David Fish for Fish to Go.